I'm definitely. So with that, we are going to proceed. And like I said, this is meant to be interactive, and there will be breakouts at some point in this. So we will be, you'll have the opportunity to talk and brainstorm within your group and apply some of the things we're going to talk about today. So and it's funny because JJ said, oh, entrepreneurs are risk takers, or somebody said, JJ said that. I actually believe entrepreneurs are risk managers, not risk takers, right? We identify the risk and then we manage it so we have a successful business. I think if you were just, blindly leaping as a risk taker, we wouldn't have as many successes as we like to have. So I might debate that point. I certainly could be wrong. I'm not the professor, but that was kind of my opening sentence there. And so we're going to go through 4 topics and then the brainstorms. We're going to talk about what is feasibility. We're going to talk about industry knowledge and how that impacts your decisions and your change opportunities. Market assessment, knowing the customer. Risk assessment, topic 4, risk assessment for distribution, technology, finance, and people. And you could take a whole class on each and every one of these topics, right? This is meant to be a flyover and then an immediate application in the little breakouts that we're going to have today. So with that, we will continue. All right. So topic 1, and please interject if you have questions. It's, I have a lot of screens open, so I'm not sure I can completely monitor the chat while I'm presenting and, looking at the who's on the screen as well. So speak up if you have a question. So topic 1, what is feasibility? It's really about defining the opportunity, really. And it's the core of business planning. It's the foundation of business planning. It's the process of identifying your idea and turning it into a business concept. And, just identifying and turning into the concept in of itself is a journey, right? There's so many steps that go from identifying to turning it into. But one of the foundations of it is the basis of industry knowledge. So starting in an industry that you have knowledge of, it's, when I first started my entrepreneur studies, I said, I've been doing this environmental work as an environmental engineer for all these years. I'm tired of it. I want to try something else. And I was told, no, you don't know another industry. Go back and find an opportunity in your industry because they are there. And I am a firm believer now that when you get deep into your industry, you can identify things that somebody doing a flyover on your industry isn't able to identify. Rachel, I think Rachel was the one who said, I have a background as a realtor and I want to find opportunities in real estate. I think that's fantastic. That's an industry, it's something you can dig in deep and really come up with a nuance, an original niche idea that no one else is going to come up with. So I think that's fantastic. And, so basically millions of ideas are formed daily by people. I think every single person on this call probably has a couple ideas a day. Wouldn't it be great if, right? And why are there all these ideas but no execution on it? I really believe that execution is what differentiates the entrepreneur, not the generation of ideas. So, harnessing that space between the idea and turning it into execution is what sets true entrepreneurs apart. And it's really tempting. It's really easy to go, I got an idea, now I'm going to start business planning. If you skip that step of feasibility in between idea generation and business planning, I think you're shortchanging the process a little bit. You learn so much more in that feasibility step. The customer interviews, the market assessment, all that stuff happens in feasibility. So I really discourage people from taking that exciting idea and immediately jumping it right into business planning. And, I think you're shortchanging yourself. Any questions on any of this before I flip to the next topic? No? Okay. See a lot of head nodding, so I think you're on. I see a lot of turned off screens too, so I don't really know. The screens I see head nodding. Okay, that's somebody coughing, right? Not a question? Okay, so topic 2, industry knowledge. So what do you do with that industry knowledge? Industries are in flux. Industries have areas of chaos. Every single one. I can't imagine there being an industry, even look at the music industry when it shifts from, vinyl to digital. There's so many opportunities that are created in every industry, lots of flux, lots of chaos. When you are comparing the industry past with the industry of its future, that's where those opportunities are identified. And changes can be micro, changes can be macro, but really there's going to be some trends that are creating a change in your industry. And when that change is created, that's where the opportunity is created. And so just to give a few examples, to really kind of get your minds, your juices flowing on where things come, some of these changes, businesses can be shut down or become obsolete, or they can lose their customers, or new ones could spring out of nowhere. Whereas one is failing and suffering, another one's thriving. And it's because the other one really is identifying that opportunity and the change. And so when you look at, for example, COVID, digitization, social good brands, you see a lot of examples. In the past couple of years, I think everyone hopefully has become really familiar with the push for ESG metrics and reporting that have, really come upon our world. It really started in the investor space, where they started demanding that their holding companies are providing these ESG reporting metrics. And Blackstone kind of was the pioneer in this space. But really since then, in the last few years, it's impacted every company of substance in every industry, even if it's not coming directly because you're a portfolio company in a broader fund, shareholders, stockholders, everybody is demanding this. And we've seen it before in the past. It's been called the triple bottom line. I don't know if you're familiar with people, planet, and profits. Sustainability, same concept, new word. So it's a big macro trend that's been creeping into our world for decades. And, if you ignore it, you're going to be left behind. So there's some companies like Patagonia, Burt's Bees, Tom's Shoes, where they really did a great job of capturing their share of the industry because of this macro trend. There's other brands, however, that have completely missed the mark. And my favorite terrible story is the Abercrombie and Fitch one. I don't know if you've heard this or not, where one of their executives was reported to have said, "We would rather burn clothes than give them to poor people," which it's the best terrible thing I have ever heard a company say. And it was blasted everywhere. And it's been 10 years, 15 years since that came out, and they still haven't recovered for it. People still think of Abercrombie and Fitch as the irresponsible company. Completely utter disregard to this trend and the demands that are coming from, the user community, the buying community, the shareholders, the stakeholders for doing good in the world with their products. So I love that example because it's so cringy and so terrible. And so while that was an opportunity that destroyed a company, there's other examples where a trend has actually created an opportunity. And that was an example of the business that I had. And it, as a push to re-examine things inside of my own industry was, around that 2000 timeframe, that's when things were really going crazy. The dot-coms, the dot-bombs, the internet digitization was really hitting everything. And I was in an old school industry where you still had drillers out with pencil and paper. And so taking the ability to apply that digitization to a completely dinosaured industry was something that I was able to take advantage of, and helping customers in those Fortune 500 examples really streamline their processes. So, you could take these macro trends, you could make something out of it, you could ignore it, you could let it completely bomb your company like Abercrombie did. But these macro trends really do matter, and they make differences. Any questions or comments or conversation on that before I go to topic 3?
I have a quick question. Is one of the ways that some of the companies that you named did this, like being fair trade certified or something along those lines?
What exactly is the question? Are the companies that I named fair trade certified, or is fair trade certification an example of that macro trend?
Yeah, isn't it an example of something like that?
Okay. That would absolutely be an example of that particular macro trend of this, people wanting to buy from brands that feel that they're doing good for the world. And that's a great example. I threw out ESG, I threw out triple bottom line. That's another example of that. Absolutely. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Joanne, you
Almost.
said sorry to cut you off. You said a triple P, something.
Oh, it used to be called the triple bottom line, probably in like the 2010 period. Like I said, ESG has been around forever. They just called it different things before. Before it was triple bottom line, it was people, planet, profits. So are you looking at, are you child labor, planet? Are you deforestation, right? And profits, but you still got to make some money, right? You got to figure out how to do good and still make a profit.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Yeah, I was going to say almost every business plan I judged last night, they all had a do good component to it. It's really amazing. It's so on the foremind of, entrepreneurs and investors and businesses and everyone. It really is a big deal. You can't ignore this one, guys. If you're thinking it's a passing trend, I think once BlackRock actually took it and made it a criteria of investment, that was a game changer for that particular macro trend. All right, so topic 3. So how do you, we're going to talk about market assessment and knowing the customer, right? So we look at a lot of different things. And so how do you go about assessing these trends on the market? How do you know which ones are going to stick? Why didn't triple bottom line really stick, but ESG did, for example? And you start by making sure you know and understand your industry. Just like I mentioned what Rachel said about sticking within an industry she knows. You're going to be able to tell if a trend's going to stick or not stick because you've been 10 years in that industry. You have that knowledge and that expertise and that basis to really to have some judgment on it. And so once you identify your niche to explore, whether it's real estate or the environmental industry in my example, you really spend some time digging in and understanding it, and then not relying solely on your personal knowledge, which is a great foundation. But one thing that I've been taught is an excellent discipline, and it's a little bit uncomfortable, and you got to put yourself out there. But for those of you that are students, you will never have an opportunity like this in your life, is requesting informational interviews. I can't say enough for informational interviews. Every time someone requests one of me, I offer them a job, right? And they're not even asking for a job. It's, so as a student, you picking up the phone, sending that LinkedIn message, hey, I'm a student at Cal State Fullerton. I'm really interested in this industry. I see you're an expert in it. Could you spare 15 minutes of your time? You'll always get 45. But, starting out with a small request, having a list of questions, appearing serious and organized and methodical, understanding different people's perspective on the industry, experts, speakers, customers, buyers of services, but people pick up the phone for students. So I really, really encourage you to take advantage of these opportunity to do informational interviews. Ask open-ended questions and find where the opportunity lies. And so, there's templates out there. You can Google them. I'm happy to share some if anyone wants to reach out to me after. But there are templates where you can go through and ask these open-ended questions. And then you're pulling out nuggets and you're able to see really where these opportunities might lie. Don't be shy. Don't underestimate the power of these informational interviews to really refine and nail down your market assessment and know what your customer wants, what problem you're solving. All that comes out of your informational interviews. Any questions on that?
I have a comment. So I should probably, instead of saying I'm an insurance broker, I should just lead with I'm a student on my cold calls.
Oh, definitely. 100%. But you're not a student, Raymond, so I don't know how
student of life.
Yeah, you could say you're an alumni of the entrepreneur program and doing follow-up research, right? I probably would not start with I'm an insurance salesman. No, you might get a lot of hang-ups. I'm glad you can laugh about that too. Okay, so next topic, because we are moving along, because I do want to give us time for breakouts here too. So this is where, I had the point I was perhaps debating, that I believe that we are risk managers, not risk takers. So in order to manage your risk, you need to understand your risk. So when you're in this feasibility stage and now you've identified your industry or your market of interest, you've conducted interviews, and you have pulled out gems and you've pulled out nuggets and you know where opportunity might lie, then you got to stop and understand what the risks are, really. And again, this is pre-business planning. This is risk at a high level. And, you know, market risk was really considered when we looked at the industry trends. Is this completely changing and will shut down that need for that service? That's a market trend, and that was looked at in the industry section. But when you look at risks associated with distribution, technology, finances, and people, completely different kinds of risk. And so, you know, there's in your feasibility, you know, in this process, you know, you're pulling together a feasibility study, right, which compiles the elements of this industry, opportunity, market size, et cetera. There's going to be a risk section, and there'll be very specific tables and information on assessing distribution risk, technology risk, financial risk, people risk. Technology risk, I mean, distribution risk, it goes about how to secure the customer and how to deliver that benefit. So that could be, you know, if it's a completely online type of a business versus something that relies on global shipping. Different kind of answers, but it's all about how you're getting the benefit to the customer. And hopefully no one's in global shipping right now, because that's just a major, gigantic mess. If any of you have been along the beach and seen the dozens and dozens of container ships trying to get on shore. But yeah, the distribution risk is completely different from search engine optimization to throwing something on a container and throwing it on a ship and sailing it across the world. Completely different, but you got to look at it. What are the risks? How do you mitigate those risks? Technology benefit. Technology risk. What's the benefit versus the feature? So it's very, very tempting to sell features, but when you really look at the benefit, not the feature, then you're able to really assess what the risk is associated with that. If somebody's looking to solve problem X, do they really need your solution to solve it, or is there a low cost, no cost way to solve it? So, you know, really assessing the benefit versus the feature and looking at the risks associated with that is critical in your analysis. Financial sense, does it make financial sense? Will it deliver a profit? Doing good is great, but doing good is not sustainable if it's not delivering a profit, right? Because then you can't keep doing good if you're not delivering a profit. You'll be shutting down. So going through that financial risk and the people risk. Are the right people on the bus? Do they have the appropriate level of commitment? What happens, you know, if a partner leaves? What happens if a competitor responds with more ferocity than you anticipated? How do you mitigate those risks? And having a plan that's organized and knowing that you can mitigate these risks if they come up, then helps you to conclude this is an opportunity that is worth pursuing. If you outline all your risks and you discover that they aren't mitigatable, maybe that's not a business you want to start, because it's leaving you too exposed and you are becoming a risk taker, not a risk manager. So, you know, and it depends on your risk tolerance, but even if you're a really risky person, who wants to throw money into a venture if you can't mitigate the risks as they crop up? You're still throwing your money away. It may be a cheap thrill, but, you know, go bungee jumping instead. You'll save a lot more money if you just need a cheap thrill. If you're looking to make money, look at your risks, ensure that they're mitigated and they're mitigatable, and you have a plan for mitigating them if those risks do start to reveal themselves. So, and, you know, I'm a table person, I think, in rows and columns. So I personally would make a table for each of these, and I would just, you know, summarize all my the risks and then the mitigation paths for each of these different work streams that I talked about. Any questions? And I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog barking too. I apologize for that. Any comments or questions on any of that? There's got to be something. All right. Either we're all really shy or that was just so incredibly brilliant and complete that there's just no question. Okay, so now we're going to have our breakouts. And what I like to do is we're going to allocate. So let's see, how many people do we have on here?
Looks like we have 22 participants. So I think we can probably do 5 breakout rooms. I know it doesn't exactly
So that'd
Go
be
evenly?
4 per breakout. Okay, that works.
Something like that.
We could also do one last 2 and have a few more. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go and do the breakouts for probably 10 minutes. And then we're going to come back as a group and do report outs on the breakouts. And so we probably won't have time for all 22 people to do a report out. But maybe if each breakout room can select one of the participants to do their report out, so we can continue to, we learn from hearing other people's ideas. So it's really valuable to hear what, the breakout rooms come back with. So 5 points that you guys everyone needs to discuss inside their breakout room. So there's 4 of you, each of you need to participate, right? Identify your area of interest. Rachel said real estate, right? Discuss the current state in this industry. What do you know about it? What are some macro trends? Where do you think opportunities are going to lie? And get input from your group. Somebody might say, that's a great idea. Here's an idea. I see a trend in your industry that maybe you haven't thought of. So it's meant to be interactive. And I want you to come back with that. You don't have to give this information to me, but maybe jot it down on the side. 5 people that you think you can request an informational interview for. And no one's holding you accountable. You're accountable to yourself for that. But just, I find that when I commit something to paper, I do it, I follow through a lot better than if I just put it in my head. So I want to encourage everyone to just jot down 5 people that you think you can go and request an informational interview for. And think big. So if you want to interview Oprah, put Oprah down, right? Who knows? Maybe she'll probably say no, but maybe she won't. But think big. Don't think it just has to be the guy in the cubicle next to you. Think big. Well, we had so much fun in our breakout, I'll tell you. So let's, we only have 12 minutes left. So let's, how many breakouts were there, Phil?
There were 4.
4, so let's give them 3 minutes. Hopefully each breakout has chosen their spokesperson to come back. We did, we chose ours, but breakout 1, why don't you go and you'll get 3 minutes.
Yeah, so we chose ours. We were in, actually, I'm not sure, we were in room 2. So I don't know, let's see. Room 1 had Isabel, JJ, Perla, and Raymond.
Yes.
You have a spokesperson for room 1?
Yeah, that was me.
All
okay,
right.
so our 5 subjectivities. Identify an industry of interest. Number 1, our industry of interest is blockchain technology. It's a hot topic of discussion because it touches many industries, from the financial institution to logistics to cross-border payments, and even payment to payments between us users, I guess you say. I'm sorry, I'm not too well versed. I just learn as I go here. I discussed the current state of the industry. Well, there's a really big legal case going on right now between the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, and the payment infrastructure company Ripple, who's also a client of Newfront, and this is the logo of their blockchain, which is the XRP, which uses the blockchain token XRP utilized on the XRPL, the XRP ledger. So identify. Well, going back, this SEC case going on is a very monumental moment. They say it could be the biggest case of the century, definitely our lifetime, because it's going to reshape just how we interact, just like how we're doing these Zoom calls. This is just all part of the new systems at play. Identify patterns of change impacting the industry. Well, like I just mentioned, cross-border payments are being affected. The way that the real estate is being purchased or put into escrows are being changed. I put in the chat here for you real estate enthusiasts, the www.proppy.com. That's the first company to NFT real estate. Their first property was NFT'd in Ukraine. And
Raymond,
yep.
Can you wrap in 30 seconds?
Yeah, okay, where do opportunities
Okay.
lie? Many industries, as mentioned. Brainstorm 5 industry experts. I'd love to speak to Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO. I'd love to speak to, or we would, David Schwartz, the CTO, various YouTubers and potential SEC representatives. The end.
Awesome. Way to knock
right,
it out
great.
of the park.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raymond.
Absolutely.
All right, from room 2, we've asked Nicholas to chime in, so please.
Okay, industry of interest, kind of my own personal passion, aftermarket, automotive and racing. This is a very large market, continues to grow. Current state is very fragmented. There's a lot of regulation happening on a regular basis. Most companies don't know if the regulations stick and if they're consistent across states or country or borders. Example, Asia, Europe, and United States, all completely different regulations and requirements. So one manufacturer has a difficult time. Patterns of change impacting the industry. Prior to a couple years ago, most automotive was mechanical engineering based. You basically developed your own platform from ground up, and that was what you ran with. Now this is a technology company. It's not much different than software. Everyone is sharing platforms, sharing batteries. Very few manufacturers making motors, batteries, they're all sharing them. So what personalizes it is the software and development. So I think the opportunity is basically personalizing it based on software and development, and basically figuring out what the next platform is and going off of that. And then who I would find industry experts. I would reach out to the OEMs, seeing where they're changing from internal combustion engines. There's a company called EV West in Southern California that has been doing EV conversions to old classic cars for quite a long time. They know where it's going and what it's done. And then other manufacturers like myself in the internal combustion engine. Are we getting contracts from OEs? Where is this going? What are the opportunities? Is it outsourced or not?
Wonderful. Excellent. Good job.
Thank you.
Room 3, we had Rachel, Richard, Brian, and Aeneas, if I said that right.
So I'll go ahead and talk. We actually weren't able to talk too much because one of our members, we couldn't hear them. And then Aeneas was actually at work, so she was doing it in secret. So just by default, I'm going to talk about mine. So mine are the hemp houses. Let's see. Identify industry of interest. So real estate development. Hemp is good for the environment because your house leaves a negative carbon footprint. It's fireproof, mold proof, more earthquake resistant than traditional build, and termite proof. And it's now cheaper than a traditional build. Discuss the current state in the industry. So hemp has been around for hundreds of years as a building material, except within the United States because it was illegal to harvest because it's tied to marijuana. And so it just became legal in 2018 to harvest, but now it's people are building and they're building fast. The reason it hasn't hit California yet is because the manufacturing plant is incredibly expensive, and one just opened up here not that long ago. And so hemp buildings are being built, but it's more for commercial right now and for the mini houses. And so I would like to do it for single family homes. And then at the same time, because we need more houses in California and our housing prices are so ridiculously expensive, I would like to sell them at an affordable price for middle income, because you shouldn't, work full time and not be able to afford a house, which I know I'm going to make a lot of people mad. But I would like to lower the cost to get more people and more families into homes. That where opportunities lie. I guess that covers that. And then 5 industry experts you can ask for an informational interview. Actually, I wanted to talk to the insurance person on here, but the picture went off so fast I couldn't find their information, so I'm gonna have to go back and look. Any developer, I would love to get more information from any developer, anyone who knows the ins and outs of just developing. Since I'm in real estate, I know that aspect, but building is a completely different beast. And so anyone that knows how to develop or what not to do would be very helpful.
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
I like it. And I'm wondering also if tiny houses and ADUs could also take advantage of what you're doing.
Yes, and I thought about that. I was thinking, because I was thinking big picture, like to diversify and do manufactured and everything. But I wanted to start with single family homes because we need to get people, a whole family of 4 cannot live in an ADU or shouldn't live in an ADU. Yeah.
Rachel, you're a student still? Are you a student?
Yeah, I'm a mature student. I'm graduating this semester.
Okay, no, it's okay. I just wanted to be sure because I may have a senior, like the former president of Lion Homes that is working with me on a nonprofit. I might be able to get you an interview with. I just wanted to make sure it was a student informational interview. That's why I was asking.
Oh yeah, wonderful. Yeah, a lot of times they think I'm the mentor and I'm like, no guys, I'm a student just like you.
No, it's just because there's all different kinds on the call. I just wanted to make sure what category you fit in. Okay,
Well,
so
much.
yeah, find me after and I'll see if he'll do it. He's a really nice guy and he's retired and could probably have a lot of insight. That's a really, really cool idea. I like that.
Oh, thank you, for sure, thank you.
Okay, so group 4, right?
Yep, we had Donnie, Emily, Joanne was in there, and Janine. So who would like to go from that group?
I'm gonna go. So I actually pitched this idea in John Jackson's class like a month ago, and I didn't really get a lot of I didn't get picked or anything, but actually someone in my group said they actually loved it, so that was also great for me to hear. So basically, it is it's an application that kind of just changes the narrative of the current workforce. So at first I would like to tailor it to the construction industry because that's the industry that I'm in, but it's basically an application where users can go on and create a profile of just like anything personal that they want to put on their professional, and they can kind of create their own profile and tailor it to what they want their employer to see of them. And I was basically saying it's because since like times have been changing, it was always in the past like the employer picking the employee, and I just feel like these days it's not really about that anymore. It's usually like I feel like it's shifted to the employee picking the employer, and I feel like a lot of employers haven't stayed up to date with things that are going on and the needs and the wants of people who are looking for work. And so I think that this app kind of legitimizes some workers that have never been their professions have never been legitimized in the past, such as construction workers or servers. I was just telling my group, like, we live in California. I know servers who are making 6 figures a year, and they're loving what they're doing, and they're really, really good at it. And we can't like, and I think a lot of those sectors have been dismissed in the past. And I think that like time's up, and like it's time to just give a voice and to everybody and to everyone looking for work. And so this platform kind of does that, where they can kind of match and they can go and put their terms and the employer can put their terms, and then they can go through and see, okay, who's interested in me and who am I interested in? And they can click like a match, and then basically the two can get together, and it's a casual but still professional platform where the employee really feels heard. So
I like that.
yeah, I think I covered all the questions, but
Excellent.
All right. Did you want to wrap us up, Phil?
Actually, I was going to let you do it. So for the most part,
Okay.
let's see. I think this is great, and but Joanne, please finish, and I'll say my last 2 cents.
I was just going to thank everyone for coming. I thought there was great participation in our breakout, and it seems like there was by the report outs. And just keep your ideas going and follow through and execute on them, and you'll have something great in no time.